She's gorgeous. She's a mixed race girl. She works really, really hard, and she's about 24. She's got a very light, bubbly, friendly personality, and quite an attractive body. Now, her fiance walks into the restaurant that I work at, and he's dressed like a 16-year-old. He comes over to the table that I'm sitting at, and I'm eating a staff meal. We receive staff meals for free. I offer him some food. And what he tells me is that he's not eating. He wants to be on an empty stomach because he's going out with his friends for drinks later. Now we're sitting at this table. I'm sitting with her fiance. She's at the till, busy working. I'm having my staff meal before shift starts for me. And he's telling me that he's not eating because he wants to stay on an empty stomach so that he can get drunk on a budget with his friends. A few moments pass and he tells me how he does not have a job at the moment. He's around 31, 32 years old. He does not have a job at the moment, and he goes out drinking quite a bit with his friends. It's a sad reality, knowing that the girl that he's with pays for most of their life, and that they stay together with his mom. A few days pass, and it's night time. I'm the only one who drives. So, shift has ended. It's around 11 o'clock at night. I'm the only one who drives, and I've got maybe 4 or 5 colleagues that need a lift. So I decide I'm going to take all of them, except for one of them, and that one is this girl. So she's waiting 11 o'clock at night for the fiance. He comes by to the restaurant, and he tells her that he needs to go to the airport to pick up his mom. But he currently doesn't have any money on him. So he asks this girl to call him an Uber to the airport. If I had to guess, the Uber is probably around $10 or 160 Rand. So I see this look in her face. It's after shift, she's tired, she's had a little bit to drink, she smokes a lot, and she looks at him just with this sigh. And she decides to order an Uber for him. And here's the sad part. Right? Was he said, "Oh, and I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back right now." And I was eavesdropping on the conversation, and I look over to the guy, and he's on his phone in his money app, in his banking app. And it's the exact same app I use, so I know what it looks like. I glance for a second, and in his available balance, he has 150 Rand. 150 Rand. $150, which is roughly $10, is not what you're going to be sitting with as a 31, 32-year-old who has a fiance You do not want to be an alcoholic, unemployed man who does nothing to disappoint these women at 32 years old who are staying with your mother and you're dependent on your fiance or girlfriend to work 6, 7, 8 shifts a week to support the failure of your mother. This was a story I wanted to share. It's an example that is close to home, and I run into plenty examples of this in the service industry. I'm someone who's working in service to use that money to fund college, to fund my studies. But the service industry seems to also attract these lost souls. I have a colleague myself, thank God he's employed, but he always complains about how his expenses are so high. He's a 42-year-old man, very unattractive. He stays by himself. All he does is work and make music. And every night, I noticed something. So at the end of every night, we get the amounts that we made for the night. And what I noticed was, I would go and check my amount, what I made for the night, and I would see his amount. And for a week or two, like a few days passed, and I noticed that his amount was always a lot less than mine. And I was wondering, why is it that he's making less money than me? So I asked my manager. She said, this is what she said to me. He's making more money than you, but every single night he uses that money to buy from our bar a 6-pack of beers or a bottle of wine. Ultimately, meaning that every single night he makes less than me. He spends his money on booze and then he complains about his rent. 42-year-old man. I don't believe this is a man who will have kids, who will ever be able to afford a home, who will ever be able to afford a degree, who will ever be able to master a practice, to discipline, to train, to build a physique, to marry, to love, to have a girlfriend, to travel. And I do not want that. So those are my 2 examples of men who seem to have failed at life. These are the men who talk about going to concerts and tripping and smoking and drinking and having all sorts of fun in their 20s. Now, I'm not against having fun in your 20s, but I'm very much against prioritizing fun in your 20s. In your 20s, you should find what your priorities are. Studying, working, developing, meeting people, building networks, leveling up your social skills, putting yourself in uncomfortable, challenging situations. If you prioritize fun and pleasure and you make it easy, you will remain a child for the rest of your life until you're in your 30s, in your 40s, a rent payment comes through, you're unemployed, and your fiance wants to leave you. Sacrifice now. Sacrifice now. Sacrifice when you're comfortable. Work hard when there isn't a landlord banging at your door. Work hard when you're still with the girl and you feel like you're losing motivation because you no longer need to chase. Work hard when you're staying with your parents. Work hard when you are getting food every night. Do not take life for granted. It will catch up with you.